This is episode number 576 of the InnerFight podcast. Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to this episode of the show. Yes, number 576, still brought to you by Smith Street Paleo. Please do hop over smithstreetpaleo.com. You can order a meal plan for a month, for 2 weeks, for a week, for a day. You can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks. There's all sorts of customized options that you can get. Drop those guys an email, hello@smithstreetpaleo.com. They'd love to hear from you. Today's guest is an old friend of mine. We first met, I think, back in 2000 or thereabouts, Mr. Greg Boucher. He is the founder, the owner of MEFIT, a name that some of you might have heard if you've been and gone through some of their education systems. They are an education provider in the fitness industry, teaching people how to be anything from a fully fledged personal trainer to some more of the specialty courses that these guys do. Bouch is also the distributor for some of the leading fitness brands, things like Alico. They do TRX, they do loads of really cool brands that you'll have seen around in the fitness industry. And he's also, that's what he shares with us today a little bit more, the brains behind the MEFIT Summit, which has been going for a long time now. 16 years they've been doing the MEFIT Summit, which is basically bringing together people from the fitness industry, upskilling them, giving them more education, networking them, bringing them together in a business summit. And that is taking place here in Dubai on the 14th, 15th and 16th of November. So he's going to share with us all the information about that and talk us through who it's actually for, because it's not just for fitness professionals. Bouch is an old friend of mine, so this is going to be a great chat, and I'm super thankful he took his time out to chat to us. No matter where you guys are in the world, thank you so much for tuning into the show, and I really hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to another edition of the show. As I was saying there, folks, I'm here with literally the godfather of fitness in the UAE, Mr. Greg Boucher. Bouch, is that that's the kind of intro that you wanted, mate?
Well, I don't know. I wasn't expecting that one, but we'll go with it.
Mate, you are literally, we were talking about it just before, you're literally the OG, mate. You've been here 20 years? Over 20 years now.
Yeah, I was 99 actually when I arrived, so when I sort of look back like that, I don't probably celebrate it enough to do it, you know. So, 1999 arrived.
Wow.
Yeah.
And mate, you just came, I think the first time we met you were at Fitness Planet in Satwa, which was, mate, tell us what it was like coming over and sort of taking that leap into the fitness industry back then.
Yeah, well, 99, it was came over and basically had 6 months to open the first commercial fitness club, and it was in Satwa and Al Ahana Centre in Satwa, which was, that was the centre of town those days. Yeah. So, I sort of had to take a shopping mall and take 3 or 4 shops in it and turn it into a commercially viable place, and no one had sort of seen that before, because everyone else was hotels and it was recreation clubs then, not a commercial fitness club. So if you wind back the clock now, it took 6 months to open, and then the best thing about it was 9 months later I returned the investment for the owner, so they were pretty stoked with me.
Wow. Yeah. We'll keep you for a little bit longer.
Yeah. So that turned into a 3-year gig with those guys, and basically opened up the second branch as well. And the thing that we noticed the most was the PT business. PT business was, we had around about 30% of the clients wanting to do PT, and the other big thing about it, we were getting 50, 60 people turning up to the group fitness studio every night with lines out the door. So we sort of knew it was wanted. Everyone was sort of looking at it, and that was sort of the great time, right time, right place to kick it off, So,
mate, it's weird that you say it, and we see that obviously here at InnerFight. I think the dynamic of this region is different from anywhere else in the world. That PT is like massive for people over here. You speak to gym owners sort of where you're from in New Zealand or where I'm from in the UK, and you're like, what, people pay like 70, 80 quid for a PT session? You're like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think is it because people have disposable income, or how's that come around in the time that you've been here?
Look, I think, the big thing that we noticed is no one really knew. Everyone sort of heard what a personal trainer was and what they did and that sort of thing, but no one really had tasted or seen it before. And we were running some transformation programs back then, the 12-week transformation program, the old Body for Life, which was a great success in its day.
Phillips.
And Bill Phillips, and people were coming out with these amazing results. And then there was these other people going to the gym that were, sort of spent 1, 2, 3 years at the gym and still looked the same when they, 2 or 3 years later, and people were saying, wow, how did these people get these results. And we said, look, it's a combination of nutrition and a combination of exercise and working out at the right intensity, and the trainers are obviously there to support you and make sure you're getting the techniques right, and more importantly work at the intensity you need to get the results you need, and I think it was a word of mouth thing. We didn't spend much money on marketing, and that's why we said the power of community and word of mouth was what really was the success of the club.
Well, mate, we've all got, everyone who's got a gym around and a fitness personal training business now has probably got you to thank, mate, for that. I think you were the OG, mate. I remember, because I think I was still working for Albu Marine. I was at Oakley then in 2001, 2002 when we first sort of met. And
I remember getting invited to the sales, mate.
yeah, that's about all, wasn't it? Nothing like it. But mate, it developed, and you sort of, obviously, mate, you're a super smart guy. You returned the investment quickly. You obviously saw some opportunities in the market for different things, and that led to you setting up MEFIT. Talk to us a little bit about what MEFIT is, how it was set up. I remember your first office was like tiny, and it's still there on Shakeside Road, isn't it? So give us a little bit of the lowdown on that, mate.
Well, that was, after the 3-year contract was over, I basically said, look, and sort of turned to my girlfriend, who ended up being my wife later on, was I said, look, if we're staying around here and looking at staying in the region, we might as well look at setting up our own business, because we had a few approaches and offers from other companies around the region to go and open up clubs and that sort of thing. And I said, look, it's an opportunity now to maybe set up an education business. We need more PTs, and that was the downfall of the club. We just couldn't employ more PTs. So we said, look, we need to groom and grow the PT base here, because there's a lot more clubs opening then. And that was the sort of discussion we had around starting our own business, and that's how sort of MEFIT Pro started. My wife was very involved in the group fitness side of things, and
still is, huh?
Yeah, and still is. The Les Mills business was the first kickoff for her, and we were linked to the UK back then, and a couple of years later we took over and owned the franchise and owned the distribution for the Les Mills business. So she started off on that side of the business. I was doing more education, and then started to get my teeth sunk into distribution of equipment, because a lot of the clubs we were consulting for and designing and helping other clubs out were sort of saying, hey, we want that equipment. And I said, well, okay, we're going to have to look at starting to import it, and it's not here right now. And they said, well, can you bring it in for us, and can you bring that nutrition brand in for us? So it all sort of evaluated and sort of grew from there a little bit, with one brand became 2 brands, and now we're 35 brands in, and and obviously the education business is flying right now, because again, we're not just UAE based, we're sort of regional based with the business. So that was one thing sort of led to another, you could say.
Mate, let's talk a little bit about on the education side. Obviously that's where you say you started a lot, because there was a lack of education, and trainers, you couldn't get the trainers for Fitness Planet. Give us your sort of overview, because this is an interesting topic we get asked all the time, like what questions should I be asking a coach before I get involved with them, or a PT? What was going on, and what's your sort of take on the market? Fast forward now sort of 20 years, you must have seen like incredible things happening.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, it's back in the day it was I was a master trainer and lecturing the ACE courses and that sort of thing to groom these new people through, and again, I've come from 4 years at university, and I've done a year in exercise science school, and had to do a 3-month internship, and obviously lucky enough that was with the Auckland-based All Blacks and that sort of thing, so I got a good sort of start to it. And a lot of people what I had noticed when we moved over here is that a lot of people were just walking into the industry because they were bodybuilders before, or they were, like going to the gym. So all of a sudden they thought they were qualified enough to start looking after people's health and start looking after the way that people did it. So that was really the start of it. We wanted to make sure that people sort of really knew the understanding of why people got onto a fitness program. And a lot of it now is not just about knowing anatomy and physiology and all that sort of thing. It's actually understanding how do you motivate your client, how do you look after your client, how do you really groom those people for success to be able to want to stay at the gym and keep coming back to the gym, because obviously the big thing in the fitness industry is most people are leaving the clubs within the first 2 to 3 weeks of coming turnover, in. So massive turnover, and that's always been the problem with the industry. So and it's the qualified people that actually understand why you keep them in there. And one of the big things we teach for our PTA Global certification now is actually how do you manage and look after your clients, and how do you look after your members that they want to keep staying at the club for longer, which obviously all club owners like to hear, because then their retention rates go up. So that was really the heart of what we thought about. It was more about trying to get these people through their certifications, and then more importantly, what's growing now to a recruitment side of the business is helping them find work afterwards, and really building up their CV to work with mentors like people like yourself and that sort of thing that have, can mentor people coming through. And I know you do that here at InnerFight as well, is that you need to have those people that can groom these new people coming through, because I remember back, and you probably do too, when you first started out at the club, if I was chucked into this gym, and if it wasn't for the guys that were mentoring me, I would have been lost. I didn't know how to write a program. I had all the knowledge up here, but I didn't even know how to put it into practice. That was I think that's a big thing of getting started and helping these people come through the education.
Mate, it's interesting what you said there. You've done 4 years at university. You've done work placements where I imagine you're probably sort of just sweeping the gym floor, if not physically, then sort of in a way that's just like looking for and learning and looking for tips from people. And I would say you've done your time, mate, but you do get a lot of people these days that would just be, it might be 6 months, or it might be just the fact that someone's gone and bought 50,000 Instagram followers. Like, let's be honest, the way that things are going right now, what is your thought on that, mate? You must be, I get a little bit pissed off because I went to university and my family had to pay for that, and I've gone through a lot of different education to get to where I'm at. What's your thought of where the industry's at now? We're just end of 2019 into 2020 with fitness influencers. We could talk about the fact that Joe Wicks's record failed recently here in Dubai, or we could talk about a lot of different things, but where's your head at on that stuff, mate?
Look, I think you have to take your hat off to the people that have really put the time and effort into doing it, and it does peeve me off a little bit as well that there is people just walking out there and can sort of buy some likes, and next thing the Insta heroes are turned into these top trainers and are charging the big bucks for what they do. And again, some of them are qualified, some of them are not qualified, and you can't really dog them for that. You'd have to sort of say to them, hey, well done, and you've managed to build up your client base and that sort of thing. So look, I think it goes two ways, but I think the key thing is that in the fitness industry, and call it the wellness industry, call it whatever you want, I think the key thing with that is that, are you really looking after people's wellness, and are you qualified enough to be able to treat any conditions that you may find on the way that people may have? And not everyone from looking on the outside in are completely healthy, and how qualified are we to be able to help these people out if they get injured, if they have a heart disease, or they have cholesterol problems, or diabetes, or obesity, or any of these sort of ailments that you actually learn about and study when you're at university versus jumping on YouTube and reading the first article that you come across, and is that the right thing to do? So it does peeve me off a little bit, and I think the biggest thing and what I've learned is, I got a kick of networking and going to conventions and doing that sort of thing when I was young, and really learning off these people that have been, and it was just time in the game by learning about what they did. And more importantly, it motivated me to say, wow, I want to be able to be like that one day, and actually be able to educate people and train people up. And I don't think if I did my 4 years at uni, and it's not 4 years, it might be a 1 year or a 2 year now, you can do it a lot quicker, that you would know as much as I know now to be able to guide new people through.
I think it's a good point. And listen, whilst I think it's interesting the way that the Instagram famous personal trainer has come to fruition, the fact that if we look at someone like Joe Wicks, got 2.8 million followers, even if 10% of those people are moving more now than they were a year ago, I think both of us share the same vision that that's something that's super positive for the population as a whole.
100%.
But I think you said something really important there, that there's heart conditions, there could be joint issues, high intensity interval training in front of the Burj Khalifa is not for everyone, and I think that's where some of the things have gone. But although we're becoming a more obese nation, we're actually, with all these guys in the game, the market is growing, right? There's more, and you must have seen that in the 20 years, like how many clubs have opened, and now you've got 35 brands that you distribute. Like, the market is grown, and that's a positive thing, right?
Yeah, and that's I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's as the market continues to grow, there's a lot more jobs available for people coming in, and there's a lot of gyms opening up. You know, one of the other big things that I see a lot of is that there's qualified or managers going into jobs that have never been manager before, and they're going into operations. And again, while a lot of the clubs fail over here is purely because a PT has thought that they could run a club and start operating a club over here, and they've got no qualifications at all. They just think that they've seen a guy that's doing it before and really feel that that's maybe the right way to run a club. And unfortunately, that's the first downfall that a lot of clubs have, is that every time I see a club close the door and you look back into it, there's a whole lot of factors there, from choosing the location to, you know, not marketing and not doing a proper pre-opening, and also not building a community within their club. And these things you're only going to know by time in the game and actually learning how to manage and operate clubs. And you know, it goes back to the PTs, like you said before as well, is that our goal and our job, I feel, as people in the industry, we need to figure out how do we keep people in the game for longer. And how do we keep people coming back to gyms, or how do we get people active, whether it's at a gym or whether it's outside training. And as long as you're managing your people or managing your community or managing your client well enough, that's going to keep them exercising for a longer period. It's wellness now. You know, it's not just training hard out and high intensity training and that sort of thing. Some people, it's just movement. How do we get people moving again because they can't move, or they're as stiff as this bloody desk that's sitting here, you know. So and that might be someone's goal, is just to get out of bed without aching and sort of rolling out of bed instead of getting out of bed, you know.
The dynamics have changed a lot. It's interesting what you say about people that sort of are coaches and then have become managers of places, because we're also seeing a lot of people coming from the corporate world and saying, I want to try my hand in personal training. And I mean, maybe I'm a good example of that. Like, I did my time in the corporate world, always been interested in fitness, studied fitness a lot, and then using a lot of the skills, thanks Adidas again, as I always have to thank Adidas for all the skills they taught me to be able to run a business. But it is quite interesting, that dynamic that we're seeing of where people are giving up big corporate jobs to train properly. And I'm sure you see this through your academy, mate. Like, I know people personally that have come through your academy actually in the last 6 months who have worked in the corporate world. I'm interested to get your thoughts on that, like this whole career change that people are undergoing, and how it goes, almost from your personal opinion, but from a training perspective as well. Like, is it the right thing? How does it boil down?
Look, I think it's people that get the bug, you know, and obviously you got it when you were young, and you just love training, and you go nuts for it, and whether it's the competitiveness from your sport that you played back in the day that comes through to winning at work or winning in all your distance stuff that you're doing now is I think the people that are in the corporate world and realise that they're in this sort of haven where they're not enjoying it. They're going there just to turn the clock over and tick the hours up, and they're not actually in the game to really enjoy what they're doing or seeing positive outburst on the people that are there. So I think the big thing is that for those people, that they really want to make sure they can find a way to help their community and help the people that they live with and operate around. And what we've noticed a lot is these guys are coming into the industry because they want to influence their community or their family that they feel that they can help out. Some of them are not even doing it for a money point of view. They're actually just doing it because they get a kick out of it, and they really love seeing the benefits of helping other people lead a healthy lifestyle and being more well themselves. So
it's interesting what you said there, mate, about the money side. I always say that to people. People are like, oh, you run the business. I said, I need to turn the lights on and make everything work. But if it was really about money, I would have definitely stayed with Nike, with Adidas, because the money that comes from those guys is a lot bigger. But it's cool as well, like people find that passion, don't they? And like you said, that ability to help people and transfer a skill set or a passion into the fitness industry is very cool. And again, that's what drew me to it as well. And it was lucky enough when I was young enough, they offered us if you're good at sport, you got to choose, or they gave you a pathway to have something to do after sport that you could go and do. And it just so happened, if you really enjoyed that part of it and finding a way that you can stay in the industry, whether it's PTing or whether it's running clubs or whether it's management side or whether it's on the
sporting side, the sponsorship side and that sort of thing. So I think the industry is continuing to grow. It will continue to grow from strength to strength, and there will be changes. There will be things that are fads. There'll be things that are, that pop up that are like, people are like, wow, this is the new thing that's happening. This is the new, industry norm. But at the end of the day, it's sort of a big round circle as well. You can see some of the old school stuff coming back, like the lifting and this type of thing.
That's mate, great segue, because that's really where I wanted to go next. As a distributor now, okay, we've got the education side of MEFIT, but you've got the distribution side. Like, in the last few years, you've taken on Eleiko, the world's biggest weightlifting brand. We were just talking the other day about another brand. I'm not sure if you can mention it, but if you can, you'll mention that. My point is that you must have seen this whole product thing, even though you've only been distributing for just over 10 years or whatever it is. It's this big cycle. And I remember we've had conversations, and you're like, mate, this is the latest, this is the greatest. Some of that stuff is still in the market, but some of it is just gone. What's your thoughts on that, mate? And is it just going to keep going round and round, or will it?
It's been amazing. I've seen you see the churn of products, and you see the churn of the different types of products that are out in the market, whether it's a machine or a plate loader versus a selectorized machine or something like that. But if you go back to the basics again, it goes back to the hardcore. A barbell still does the work. A dumbbell still does what it needs to do, and and at the end of the day, your cardiovascular machines they are getting better. They're getting more technology and that on them. But some of the best ones out today are the ones that you can just run on and just keep running on, and they don't need to have all the fancy stuff on there, because you should be able to be motivated in other ways to finish that run or finish that distance. But again, that's the way it's turning out, and brands like Eleiko, they're evolving as well. They make a great barbell, and it's more about it's making it last long enough that it gets put and thrashed by guys like that are training downstairs in your club, and at the end of the day, you've got to be able to throw some iron around, and the iron's still got to be able to work tomorrow when they come back in again to lift again. And I think there is a lot of brands out there now that we also bought in another brand called Unix, which is basically a brand that's sort of price competitive, and they're putting a warranty on it where they're giving lifetime warranties on the product as well.
Is that a good business model, mate?
So I don't know. So look, everyone that we sold it to are pretty happy about it, because they know they can come back in 3 years or 4 years and say, hey, this is a lifetime warranty, give me a new one. So that's continuing to change, that's continuing to evolve. But if you look at the rower, the Concept 2 rower as an example, that's a staple piece in most clubs now, and that just keeps going. It's put a few new bearings in it, and change the screen a little bit, but at the end of the day, those core compound movements that you do that help us burn calories faster are still the key things that we do today. You just got to find great ways and entertaining ways to do it. Are we moving from an exercise community to a exertainment, I call it, Is it exertainment? How do we entertain while we're exercising, or is it the people that you're training with that can help you do that?
I mean, mate, and a great example of that, and we spoke about it the other day, because you guys are distributing the treadmill that is in Barry's boot camp. Now, Barry's boot camp, for example, is one of these concepts that really is quite nightclub-esque, isn't it? And it's entertainment as well as exercise. I think it's great. It grows the market, and that crowd of people, were they exercising before? No, they weren't. But you're just supplying them the most basic, not the most basic, but a pretty straightforward piece of equipment, right?
Yeah, and again, it's Barry's Bootcamp's a classic example. Great brand, boutique fitness, focused on people that love running, and getting them to do some weight training at the same time, where they're lifting weights that they're not just doing running, because we know that you also need to maintain muscle by lifting, and so it's a great boutique brand doing very, very well in the region. And they selected the Woodway treadmills, which are basically, they keep going, and they use a slat deck, which helps obviously the cushioning, but more importantly, it's you get twice the amount of time out of a Woodway treadmill than you would on a treadmill that runs on a deck sort of thing. So a great treadmill for a club like that. And again, they've brought in this entertainment type side of things, where you're running to great music. You've got a really amazing coach in there as well. That's some of these guys have been either B-list Hollywood actors or have come from Hollywood, and they know how to hold a crowd, or they know how to entertain while they're in there, and then they get trained on how to coach and how to look after people's exercise. So again, a great and a great role model that these people do to be able to help people keep coming back to the club, because they, you know what, they did a class, they went, wow, that was awesome, I had a great time in there, and the coach was cracking jokes the whole time and that sort of thing, and that makes you want to go back tomorrow. So
of course.
So a great model, and they can charge a good dollar for it as well.
It is very interesting, mate, the whole entertainment side, and like you said there, not only the environment, but the guy that's actually teaching it as well is fully charged. Mate, I want to move on a little bit. One thing that you guys established quite some years ago is an annual summit, bringing, and I remember, I'm pretty sure we had a conversation when you were starting this. You said, we just want to bring everyone from the region together. We're going to create a summit. We're going to sit, we're going to talk, we're going to educate, we're going to sort of try and upskill people, improve the knowledge levels and everything of fitness in the region. And you know, I think the first year you probably had 20 or 30 people. Talk us through the journey that has been the MEFIT Summit that is taking place next weekend here in Dubai, because this is phenomenal, mate, and it shows a lot of resilience from your side, because how many people were there at the first one? Not that many.
Oh, no, mate. It was 2003 actually was the first one, and
wow.
We did it on the back of Sportex, if you remember the convention. We were the sort of sub of Sportex and run the education, and I had to convince a lot of people. They were like, what the hell are you trying to do here, mate? You know? And I said, look, it's I remember them. It's still something I always remembered. I used to travel to listen to them, and I used to travel to conventions in the US and over to Australia, and went to the ones in New Zealand. And I used to walk out of them going, man, I had a great time, and motivating, and I met the guy down the road, and I met some new people, and it was a networking event for the industry. And I said, look, we've got to bring this to the Middle East. And you know, 15 years was our anniversary last year, 16 years this year we've been running it. It's continued to grow. Like, you're right, the first one I think we did have, I think it was about 80 or 90 people. We had maybe a little bit more than 20, but
sorry, mate.
Yeah, jeez.
Making you look bad.
A few new people. But no, we invited some people over that we were there, and it's grown from strength to strength. We'll probably look at getting around about 2,000 people to this one here.
Wow.
This year. We've got some great presenters coming over from all over the world, and that was the thing, like you mentioned, it's bringing international presenters, guys with great credibility, people with great followers, people with a good education, that people can walk away from the conference and go, wow, I learned something new today, or I picked up this that I'm really going to add to my clients' training tomorrow, or it's going to help my business tomorrow, I can implement it in my business, because obviously for the last 5 years now we've been running a business summit as well for club owners, club managers, and that's a big thing as well. It's not just training the group fitness people or the personal trainers, we're actually helping the owners of clubs be able to learn how to put tippets in to make their club successful, and that's a big thing, whether it's marketing or social media now, or whether it's creativity or what they do, or whether it's operational plans that they're looking at doing, how to motivate staff, how to motivate teams. So these sort of things we're bringing into the business summit, you know.
So there's two, just so we're clear, mate, there's two sort of summits running side by side.
Yes.
How does it work?
We're actually 3 summits running side by side now. So we've got first on the Thursday, which is Thursday the 14th of November, is the business summit for club owners, club managers. We'll probably this year get around about 150 to 200 people, so that's growing over the years to, and they're coming from all over the region. In fact, this year we've even got people travelling in from Asia and Europe to attend it, because there's a few draw cards on there that they want to listen to, and so that's on day one. Also on day one we have a teen summit now as well, which you were involved in last year,
that was wild.
which is amazing, and that that's something we're giving back to the community and giving back to the kids, and having the kids understand that they're either GCSE or A-level, bursary level sort of kids that are all good at sport, that we're saying to the schools, hey, bring your kids in, and let them get involved with the community, because maybe it's something that they want to do as a career path later in life, and mix it up with some of these top presenters that we've got over here, and they just loved it. So we're expecting around about 1,000, just over 1,000 students coming in this year to the summit as well on day one. So
that was wild, mate. The energy from those guys was something else. I know it's a day out of school, so they're naturally quite happy about things, but they were, they welcomed us, and then we hung around for a bit, and they're just going nuts.
So
that's
we do a workout with them. We talk to them about nutrition. This year we're talking a bit about mindset.
Wow.
So it's something that they can walk away with and go, wow, I can go back and share that with my parents or my family or my community or my friends, that we can all help each other out. So and then basically the next 2 days is all small group training, PT. There's a bit of business there for the PTs. There's some mindset stuff there as well. There's some trade shows. There's early morning workouts going on. There's yoga sessions in the evening to close the summit down. So so that's that's on the Friday and Saturday of the event, and obviously the key thing for that is it's wrapping up the Dubai Fitness Challenge and the 30-30.
So you're basically on the last weekend of Dubai Fitness Challenge.
So really looking forward to that. Again, it's perfect timing that we managed to have the event on there. We get great support from the Dubai Sports Council to support us with that, Dubai Tourism as well. So they're right in behind it, and they really want to see the event continue to grow, because obviously they're looking at saying how many people from outside Dubai are coming in, and how do we grow the community.
How many people from outside, so if you've got over 2,000 people at the summit across those days, what percentage of people come from outside, mate?
Look, typically it's and again, it's continuing to grow. We can't just survive on people from UAE now to grow the summit. It's the people. We've got a big delegation from Saudi Arabia this year, where the Saudi Arabia the fitness in the kingdom is continuing to grow. There's there's about 30 clubs opening in the next 6 months over there, so
phenomenal.
So that's continuing to grow there. So I would say probably around about 20%. We're even trying to push that up to around about 25% this year of people from outside of UAE attending, and it's quite expensive, so we're trying to keep the cost down for everybody and help them out with hotels and that type of thing while they're here. And I think if we can do that, we'll continue to get more people, not just from the GCC, but also the Asia subcontinent and up into Europe and that as well.
Is there anything, I know obviously like you said there, mate, in Europe, and it's I love the motivation that you had to start this thing. Like, I remember going to some trade shows in my Adidas days, and you would meet all the people, you'd meet all the top brands, you'd meet top trainers, and you'd literally come away from it absolutely pumped. So you've taken that experience and gone, we've got to give that to the people here. But this is really, it's also it's kind of for a lot of different people as well. You could be a trainer, or you could be just getting into the fitness industry, and you're going to get everything over those 2 or 3 days, sort of all under one roof, right?
Yeah, it's and again, it's not just targeting the fitness pros or the people in it. We're saying the consumers. We want the weekend warriors, or the fit consumers out there that are doing it, or the fitness enthusiasts, whatever you might want to call them. It might be a way that you talked about before, the corporate executive wanting to get into fitness. Maybe this is their segue as well to basically come and learn a little bit more and see if it is really the industry that they want to get into, and mix it up and see the energy. Like, the energy when people walk out of these sessions into the next session is amazing.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that's probably the big thing about it, and I think what people forget about is that's what you're also there for. If you can motivate, like we say to club owners and managers, let your staff go along and be involved in it. They're going to walk out so motivated and pumped afterwards. It's going to get them going for the next 6 months of trying out these new techniques and that sort of thing. And hey, if you can run into a few mates and have a coffee and eat some good food and walk around the exhibition area as well, then that's
do you have all on the exhibition side, mate, just so people can get a good idea of what's going on? Do you have a lot of the brands that you distribute are going to be on display, so people could maybe see what the latest vibrating foam roller is? I know you've got a few, but all of that stuff's there, right?
No, everything's there, and we've got some other great partners that have been involved in the event over the years that continue to come back year after year. Our brands are definitely there. We got support from our principal companies as well. So the big thing is making sure we get support from these principal brands, and bringing out some of these international presenters is the help of these partners that we have. So, but this year we're getting a lot more people coming in from different walks of life. From Lululemon, as an example, are getting in because they're getting into a bit more of the fitness side of things as well. You got Skechers doing some stuff with the teens because they're trying to get in there as well.
Coming or not?
I don't know. I don't think so.
She's still involved.
I need to actually ask her. She's involved in those guys.
That'd be quite cool. She just sort of rocks up.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of those brands are all there. There's some nutrition brands rocking up for the first time. There's a couple of equipment brands coming into the market that are not already here, that they're actually here to showcase their new products. So
it must be quite a contrast, that, mate. 2003, when you're part of well, it wasn't really Big Sportex then, but it was a bigger sort of event, and you were sort of trying to bolt this thing on the side with this big vision, and literally probably begging people to say, "Con, you need to get involved with me." And you're probably in a situation now where you've got brands calling you up and saying, "Hey, Boucher, we want to display, or we want to," or even presenters saying, "We need to be at the MEFIT Summit this year." It must be quite a strange sort of turnaround for you. You probably don't think about it much, mate, but in reflection, it must be huge.
Well, it's hard. Every year you turn around and sit there and say, right, who are we going to bring this year? And and obviously it's a costly exercise to put on, and trying to get your budgets right, and obviously the time we're in right now as well, because not every company has a lot of cash to splurge out at these big events and that sort of thing. So it's trying to do it in other ways, and more importantly, it's trying to bring fresh new presenters in each year that people haven't seen before, that gives them a touch about what's happening in this industry over here. And these presenters that we bring over, we're saying to them, hey guys, it's not just about you turning up to the MEFIT thing, our MEFIT event. It's actually turning up and actually doing something afterwards as well. So you're building your legacy not just in your own market in the world, like whether it's the US or the UK or whatever. You actually build a legacy of you and helping the Middle East market to continue to grow and bring your new ideas here. So we're always looking at people that do that. We get some presenters returning every year, but we also try and get a few fresh faces every year as well. So
who's the big draw cards this year, mate? If I'm a little bit of a fitness enthusiast, which I'm not at all, but if I was in the market for it, who can I get excited about coming to see? What can I learn? What's the fresh stuff, mate? Because I think this is where it's interesting. Like you said, it's not just for trainers; it could be for the public as well.
Look, I think we've got 4 or 5 big draw cards this year, and in fact, the whole 20 plus international presenters that are coming over are all great in their own mind and in our minds of what they're trying to do. But obviously we've got the Move You guys back again this year. They're phenomenal. Just the way they speak and the way they move and groove around, and they've got over 1 million followers now in the US, and just a few tidbits that they give trainers. They were so hot last year that we said, look, we'll bring you guys back again this year. Some people have gone on to do their mentorship program and sign on online with them in the region. There's people that even follow in this region. They're not even in the industry. They're just there they call it fix your shit, they're fixing people's shit just online and people following them. So
it's amazing.
So they're awesome. We've got Ainsley Rodriguez coming over as well. She's again, she's one of these. She's got over 2 million followers on that follow her on Instagram, and she runs an online programming system, and again, she's comes from authenticity. She's had problems in the past with her nutrition and gut health and that type of thing, and now she talks to it from authenticity, and she had to find out the hard way. It took her years and years to figure out these problems that she's got, and now she can actually put them in and help people out with. So from that side, we've got her coming over. We've got Ricky Warren as well, who's very big in the calisthenics world, and all this free body weight training stuff now, and teaching people how to do a handstand, and
you'll be in that workshop.
I don't know. I did gymnastics back in the day. I can still do a handstand.
and your daughter's into that sort of stuff, so
she's definitely in that one for sure. So she's there, and I think the other big one is him as well as Brian Keane. He's going to be amazing. He's coming in to speak from the business angle side of things. He's obviously a great athlete as well, and he's got some great followers as well. So trying to bring him into the market, and rather than just come here and run races and hang out, we're actually getting him to really speak this time. And he runs a business mindset coaching podcast as well. Another great guy to bring.
I've had him on here a few times. I'll get him on again when he's here. But that guy's got. That's another great story as well, because he he was a teacher, and then he realized that he just wanted to get into fitness and helping people. And from a business perspective, he's pretty much nailed it. I think he's got 2 or 3 podcasts. He's got the GAA, which is Gaelic football. He's got his Brian Keane fitness podcast, and he's now got the business podcast as well. So he's I'm actually looking forward to stealing some of his time and his knowledge whilst he's here. So he's definitely a good one. It's interesting what you say though on those 2 things, mate. The Move You guys and the calisthenics. Are we seeing the demand? Is it back to that wave we were talking about earlier? Like, do you try and figure out what the market's up to, and then just like, okay, we need those guys back again this year because that's where the demand is? Body weight, moving better. How does it work there?
Look, it's still, I tell you what, even the guys that are doing barbells and kettlebells, and we've got the RMT club coming in as well this year, and looking at trends that are happening in the industry, looking at some of the big conferences in the US and New Zealand, Australia, the UK, and seeing what's sort of trending over there right now, and look what people are using in clubs, what sort of clubs are talking about. Another one is stick mobility is another big one, is a huge one now, and a lot more clubs are taking that on board now. A lot of trainers are using it as part of it. I see you hanging off your stick every now and then down there as well, and
trying my best, mate. Uncle Flexible over here.
And that's something we always need to work on. So it is that those sort of lifting classes and those sort of things are still really, really popular. I know some of the sessions have got 50-60 people signed up for the 1.5 hour topic on how to clean properly and how to squat properly is some of the still really, really popular ones, because again, people just think squatting's basically just get under a bar and drop down sort of
get
thing.
It done. So
but again, it's the corrective exercise stuff is really big. 3D movement planes now that people are talking about how we move, and that sort of, is that coming back, or are we just finding new ways of doing it, or is it just becoming trendy again because we're all becoming stiff as hell or can't move at all, and I think it's education as well, right? People realize I'm getting injured because I can't move. And if you realize that if you know how to move properly and work on your flexibility and your movement, maybe you won't get as injured as much. We know a lot of athletes now are also pushing it that way, that they train that way, that it's not just going to the gym and just lift weights and get big now.
It is quite refreshing and nice to hear though, isn't it, mate? Because previously it was a lot about lifting big weights, and I mean, even if we go back to what we were talking about at the start, like the clientele at Fitness Planet in 2002, 2001 was very much like you had your cardio machine sort of over there, and you had dumbbell racks literally forever. But what we're seeing now is people have this desire actually to just live in a pain-free state. And so the fact that the industry is feeding to that way, I mean, mate, I'm probably a great example. I've smashed my body up for years, and for the last sort of year and a half, I try and get to yoga a couple of times a week. And if you just spoke to me about yoga 3 years ago or even 2 years ago, I'd be like, mate, what are you talking about? I mean, I remember when Cassidy came over for Trigger Point, and I was like his laughing stock the whole week that we're on the course, because he's like, oh, you can't touch your toes. I'm like, no, I can't do anything. But it's really refreshing to hear that a lot of what you guys are focusing on, or what the industry is maybe thirsty for, is things to make people live in this pain-free state, move freely, and just, if you want to go for a bike ride, you go for a bike ride, or you want to play, well, you probably get schooled by your son at touch football, but if you, I still see you. I think that's super nice as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like 100% that you're right what you're saying there, and that's if you can still play, and you mentioned it just before, getting out and running around with my son, and we still play competitive touch rugby and basketball together, and
amazing,
and if I didn't move and didn't sort of do that work afterwards or around it, I can't just go out and run around and play a game of touch rugby or a game of basketball now, because I would wake up the next day and I can't move. So it's putting that other effort into what I do myself personally, but more importantly what other people are seeing now. And back in the day at Fitness Planet, there is the bodybuilding market over here is huge. It's still massive. Some of the biggest clubs here are bodybuilding clubs, and people just want to go in and get big. You know? But even those guys now are starting to change their concepts and the ways that they're putting into their clubs. They're putting stretching areas, they're putting movement areas in there, and some of the brand new clubs that are coming up now are doing clubs within a club. So you might have the functional training zone area or the stretching zone area might be as big as the free weight area, and cool. They're decreasing the number of selectorized machines that they have in their clubs and putting in more lifting platforms, for example. So, a lot of those ways are changing over now, the way that people like to train. And again, I think it comes back to education again. It comes back to just people being more well and being able to move and live a better quality of life. And I think that will sort of transcend a little bit more to not just go in and just get big and lift weights,
That's always going to be important. There will always be bench press, pouch, and there will always be bicep.
That's all my son wants to do now. Is I just want to get big, Dad.
That's all right, mate. He's still young. So the convention, the summit, MEFIT Summit, is Thursday the 14th, Friday the 15th, and Saturday the 16th.
Yep.
Where should people go, mate, if they want to read more, sign up for it, or get involved?
Yeah, so go to mefitsummit.net is the website. That is the official website for it. You can follow MEFIT Pro on Instagram. There's lots of information on there on that as well. We have some pre-summit courses as well, which is prior to the summit, and we have some post-summit courses. So the presenter's actually staying on and doing 1 day or 2 day workshops for people that want to go a bit more deeper into that information as well. So that's all online on the
I'll put the link to that all over in the show notes, and obviously all the social media and maybe some of the speakers as well. I think it's probably quite nice if people are going, maybe reach out and connect with the speakers through social media to sort of to break that down. And I think there is time to maybe try and corner a little bit of time from those speakers as well. I know their time is precious, having been at these things before. They don't have a lot of time, but if you hit them up on Instagram, definitely if you hit up Brian Keane, use my promo code Marcus is a legend, you'll get 5 minutes free with him. He's always said
that. I love you.
His inbox is just getting nailed. Mate, before we wrap up, I wanted you to just give us your little crystal ball view. We've come a long way in 20 years. I'm not going to ask you for the next 20 years, mate, but it looks like the way that you've got things set up, you plan to be here for the next 5. So where do you think this thing, fitness, we've seen like CrossFit now, we're probably almost 10 years into the journey here. It really got big in 2009. We've talked about animal movement there. We've talked about all this. What do you feel from all these different things, exhibitions you go to? What do you feel what can we expect in the coming, you don't have to put a timeline on it, but few years, mate?
Yeah, okay. It was 20 years over here. I told Mum and Dad I'm coming home in 3, so I'm still here. So look, next 5 years will be interesting. It'll be really interesting to see where it goes, I think. But I tell you, if there's one thing that will continue to grow, will be clubs growing communities, people growing communities, getting people around you that love working out with you and love training with you, and that's probably the takeaway for a lot of PTs and a lot of clubs is build your community, and that'll continue to grow and that sort of thing. What they do inside that community, I know you've put your hand at CrossFit. You've now got an endurance program. People still come here and train and transformation stuff and that sort of thing. Is it the obstacle course racing stuff and that sort of thing? And if you look at each one of them that's been successful, it's people that are going out there and loving what they do. They have a great time afterwards. They hang out together. They eat together. They I don't want to say sleep together, but I think
some
that goes on as well.
Some do. That's all. Well, it's not all good, but
that does happen. So. And if the trends are moving forward, I continue to think that their movement is going to play a big part, because how do you live a longer life and a more fulfilled life? And I think that means being able to, gut health, being able to move, eat, drink, and also just live a better life every day, and that comes through movement. That comes through what you put in your body to get your performance out of your body. You don't want to walk around bloated or upset stomachs and that sort of thing all day. So learning and understanding that part of it's going to continue to grow. If there's going to be some new stuff in the market in terms of vibration technology, or is it just going back to that side of things? I think that'll continue to grow. And I think that fits into the wellness part of it, where there's a lot more. I think the wellness community, the physios, the chiropractors are going to come a lot closer to the fitness industry
I'm seeing that a lot.
Really to see that continue to grow in that space. It doesn't mean that physio clinics and chiropractic clinics are inside clubs, is it a club within a club? So
do you think we'll see that here, mate? We could talk about this the whole day. You know how licensing works here, from the health authority to sort of the more people that are regulating, the municipality that's regulating fitness clubs. are we going to see? Do you think we're going to be able to see these two play side by side? I've got loads
open
of
that can of worms.
I know, mate. I'm like looking at the time and thinking we don't have too much.
How much longer we got?
Yeah, but I mean, mate,
regulatory is another big shit hole. You know, it's excuse my language, but man, it's a disaster. And I think that, you know, we need to help, and people like myself and you probably need to work with the ministries and work with the government to be able to help them shape these ideas. And I know it's that they're trying to keep their health as an important thing, and make sure that it's regulated, and regulation is really, really important to be able to do it. And you know, we do our part to try and stay regulated and that sort of thing. And I think the most important thing is it needs to come closer. Is it regulated under the Health Authority, or is it regulated under the Emirates Bodybuilding Federation, or is it regulated by the Dubai Sports Council? It definitely needs to stay government, I think, which is most important. But more importantly, I think we just need to find a better way that we can all work together and continue to grow the industry and get more people in the industry rather than pushing them away from it. I mean, mate, if you did the first part and actually got all the laws passed, then I'll provide the space for the chiropractor tables within my gym. I think that's the it is interesting, the amount, because we are working closer now with clinic like DISC. We work very closely with, and it's a great relationship because we're able to refer our clients there. Obviously confidentiality is protected, but then we'll get reports back. Okay, we're seeing this in the clinic, we're able to work to this point, but can you guys take it from here? And we come back to what you've been saying pretty much throughout the show, that we get that person moving better and pain free together. So to have clubs and clinics working closer, that's really important. That referral system, not just referring one way but referring back the other way, is what people should be doing, and linking up with those professionals in those areas. And you work with DISC and these guys because they are qualified, and you can trust what they do, and you know that the people working there are going to give you the right analysis so that you can come back and then treat the problem there. So it works very, very nicely on that front, and I think that will need to continue to grow. And that's one thing that I did when I first arrived and opened up Fitness Planet. The success of that was working with all the communities around us, from even corporate wellness, going back into that side of things. Again, that's another whole topic again, but working with those communities of people and working with those specialists in those fields can only help your facility out and help you as a person. Mate, you said it, you've said it over and over, community builds it. Congratulations for what you've done, Bouch. You came here with some crazy ideas, and you've built a community. You've built a community inside MEFIT. You're bringing again each year the MEFIT Summit. It's next weekend. Guys should get involved. But mate, thank you for what you've done. Congratulations, and hopefully you don't go home in the next 3 years, mate. We still need you here to provide us a Alico and all this kind of stuff. But mate, appreciate your time, and we'll put all the links in the show notes, and hopefully see people down at the MEFIT Summit which is at the Fairmont on the Palm, 14th, 15th, 16th of November. Thanks for having me on the show, mate, and really good luck to you, and show no weakness, they say. There we go. And we didn't speak about the rugby. Anyway, we're out of time. Awesome. Thank you, mate.